Hello YouTube. This will be probably my third book review. This book I read about a summer ago, and I never made a book review at the time because that was probably when I was busy, didn't have time to record or upload this, but I have time now, of course. This is a book I read called Hitlerland by Andrew Nagorski. American Eyewitnesses to the Nazi Rise to Power. I'll read you a summary, as always, to give you a gist of the book. Some of the Americans in Weimar and then Hitler's Germany were merely casual observers, others deliberately blind, a few were Nazi apologists. But most slowly began to understand the horror of what was unfolding, even when they found it difficult to grasp the breadth of the catastrophe. Among the journalists, William Schur, Edgar Maurer, and Dorothy Thompson were increasingly alarmed. Consul General George Messersmith stood out among the American diplomats because of his passion and courage. Truman Smith, the first American official to meet Hitler, was an astute political observer and a remarkably resourceful military attaché. Historian William D. Dodd, whom FDR tapped as ambassador in Hitler's Berlin, left disillusioned. His daughter Martha scandalized the embassy with her possession of lovers from her initial infatuation with Nazis she took up with. She ended as a Soviet spy. On the scene were George Kennan, who would become famous and as the architect of containment, Richard Helms, who rose to the top of the CIA, Howard K. Smith, who would control the ABC Evening News. The list of prominent visitors included writers Sinclair Lewis and Thompson Wolfe, famed avatar Charles Lindbergh, the great athlete Jesse Owens, newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst, the black sociologist and historian W.E.B. Du Bois, observing Hitler as his movement up close. The most perceptive of these Americans helped their reluctant countrymen begin to understand the nature of Nazi Germany, as it ruthlessly eliminated political opponents, instilled hatred of Jews and anyone deemed a member of an inferior race, and readied its military and its people for a war for global domination. They helped prepare Americans for the years of struggle ahead. This is by Andrew Nagorski, award-winning journalist, is vice president and director of public policy at the East-West Institute, which is in New York. But yeah, I liked this book a lot. This had the American side of Nazi Germany. This book is about many different American journalists, American diplomats, American ambassadors, so many different Americans who actually got to interview Hitler himself and his inner circle, like Goring, Goebbels, and others. They got to interview them, and it's great because this book has quote-to-quote conversations of Hitler's inner circle and him himself, which I liked a lot. I read this book, and now my dad is reading it, and it looks like he's on page 53. But what adds a plus to this book is the pictures, which are in the middle of the book. Very, very cool pictures. Talks about the American side again. Here's former President Herbert Hoover visiting Berlin with two Germans. Here's a picture of Jesse Owens. It looks like a Japanese guy and a German guy, placing second, third. And I like this book a whole lot. It had very interesting stories, like a story about Hermann Goring, who invites some of these American diplomats to his house. And I don't want to spoil anything other than that, because it's a very interesting story. It also talks about Hitler's favorite American that he actually admired. He admired American guy. I'm not going to tell you who he is again, because then that would spoil a portion of the book, which would probably be best left for you to find out on your own self. And I read this book like about a summer ago, so some of this I'm starting to lose some of what I read, kind of forgotten a little bit. But this was a good book. I had this book a long time ago when I wasn't really an avid reader. Now I like to read during off time. And so I read it, and I'm glad I did read it, because it's very interesting. And I think you'll like this. Again, it talks about American ambassador to Nazi Germany, how he wasn't such a great ambassador. Some of the people in his ambassador building in Germany didn't really like him that much. his daughter having, I guess you can call it Nazi boyfriends, how she became more of a communist sympathizer after a little while. And I think you'll like this book a lot. If you like any nonfiction books, history books, anything related to German history or World War II, I think you will like this book. And I think that's the end of this review. Hopefully I did a good review, and maybe I'll see you next time once I read more books. And thank you for watching this. Bye-bye.